Anybody that watches this channel knows one thing. My all-time favorite horror film ever. It's not Halloween. It's not Halloween 3. It's not Friday the 13th. No, 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 no. My favorite horror film of all time is the immortal classic, Return of the Living Dead. Yeah, the interesting thing is, I had never really heard of this movie until I became a fan of Cinemassacre. Years ago, I was watching his channel, The Angry Video Game Nerd, which I'm sure most of you, maybe at least some of you know who he is, or even fans. I found out he had a website, cinemassacre.com. So I go to the website, and sure enough, I saw that there are like some movie reviews on there. One of those movies, by the way, was Fright Night. I watched a review for Fright Night, became a huge fan of Fright Night. Sure enough, I saw a review for Return of the Living Dead. I was just going to watch this review because I just enjoyed the guy's videos. I thought it was a sequel to The Night of the Living Dead at first, and before I knew it, I'm watching this video and I learned that this is a movie that came out of this huge legal battle with John Russo and George Romero. The use of Living Dead, the use of the characters from the films, and the story going forward. Well, it was a pretty amicable split, and I applaud Russo and Romero for always being cordial, not fighting despite the stuff that was going on. Very big of those two guys until this very day. I love George Romero and I love John Russo. Between the two, if you ask me which one had the better 85 film, John Russo with his Return of the Living Dead, albeit the film is not what he had written, Dan O'Bannon came in and did his own pitch, or George Romero's Day of the Dead. As much as it pains me, Saint Romero, I have to go with Russo's side on this one and say that the better of the two, and quite frankly, probably the best zombie film of all time, with maybe the exception of like Night of the Living Dead, has to be Return of the Living Dead. This movie is perfect. Not many horror movies can start out in a sense where you absolutely fall in love with people right from the very get-go. When you see James Karen and Tom Matthews, two characters, meeting each other at the warehouse, Tom Matthews' character just gets a new job and they're starting to have fun and talk, you instantly fall in love with James Karen. He's hysterical. The way he answers the phone and tells his wife, keep the pot roast hot. The way Tom Matthews is so interested in everything going on at the place. And the split dogs. The way James Karen just expresses himself. It's so lovable. You instantly fall for these characters immediately. A lot I could say about Return of the Living Dead, but the reality is most of you already have an opinion about this film. I'm not going to sway you one way or the other. It is one of, if not the greatest 80s horror films of all time, or if not just the greatest horror films ever. Not many movies can have the temperament that's so defined like Return of the Living Dead has, with this exquisite punk rock soundtrack from real punk rock bands. Now, when I say punk rock, I'm not talking about Green Day, Blink-182. I'm talking about TSOL, 45 Grave. Bands that you absolutely have to search out to find out who they are. Otherwise, you're not going to hear them on your local FM radio stations, hell, even Sirius XM. But what a soundtrack this is. It's about as perfect as it can get. Did I forget to mention the great Jet Black Berries? What a fucking band they are. With all that being said, guys, I love Return of the Living Dead, everything about this film. It has one of the most famous zombies of all time, only behind what's probably the most famous, Bill Heinzman, who's the intro zombie in Night of the Living Dead. This film features Tarman, which has to be one of the most iconic zombies in all of history. What a character with his infamous line, brains. It does make me wonder sometimes, is Return of the Living Dead the movie where brains started? I don't know that I ever remembered anything before this that kind of used that brains motif, but I think Return of the Living Dead may be more influential than even I realized to a certain extent. It's a great character that has a lasting impact, and when people see Tarman in the film, they always remember him from the first time seeing it. This film also features some extremely funny moments, like when you get to see the military guy going home and his wife is like, I made your favorite, lamb chops, with his sarcastic, snide reply, had them for lunch. He's so pissed off. He's trying to find these damn barrels that the government and military lost. I have this character, Ernie Kaltenbrunner, played by Don Calfa, who is my all-time favorite character from the film. Don Calfa absolutely just does this role to the best anybody could ever do it. He almost has that charming sitcom timing where he gives time for the audience to laugh before he starts talking in the movie. I really think if you put a laugh track with Don Calfa's role in this, it would actually time out pretty well. He's the best. Don Calfa, rest in peace, you are a legend. All in all, guys, I love this film, Return of the Living Dead. Now, if you're a fan of this channel, you know that I get every release of this film, so that should be no surprise. I got both Scream Factory Steelbooks, I got the standard 4K from Scream Factory, I got the Blu-ray from Scream Factory, I have the 2012 DVD from MGM, I have the 2012 Blu-ray from MGM, and I have the original, I think it's like 2002 DVD from MGM as well. So I love this film. I collect it. Now, with all that being said, this video is not necessarily going to be me trying to persuade you to get this if you already have one of the Scream Factory's 4K releases. Not really, but use this video as a way to check out what this release is like. Maybe you saw it and you said, well, that's cool, but I've already got it. I totally understand that. I'm sure there's certain films with all of us that when they have a release for it, we love it so much, we have to have it. Return of the Living Dead is that film for me. Now, one of the biggest notes of contention when this release was announced wasn't like, okay, is this going to have the original theatrical soundtrack? Well, no. The only one that has that, I believe, is the Second Sight Blu-ray, and my money says they didn't legally license that. They just kind of ran with it, and that's why it's out of print. That's what my money says as to why that release is out of print, by the way. I think the biggest note of contention was actually the artwork. I mean, it's a little bit different than to be expected. Now, if you ask me, this artwork looks like a comic book. You know, the way the font looks, it's very big and bubbly with colors to it. You've got a zombie eating brains with this distressed background with all the blues in there. It looks like a comic book. You know, do I like it? I think it's okay. I mean, I would have preferred maybe going old school, maybe doing something that's based off of one of the foreign poster arts, but this is what we got. I don't hate it. You know, but I don't love it either. I think it's fine. It's a different approach for Arrow, quite frankly. And I'm pretty surprised that they went with this. It just doesn't seem like it's something they would have done. But it is what it is. Guys, so when we take this off, we're going to get the same art on here. And it's something that I've noticed. The slipcovers are where all the vibrance and color is. The hardshell cases are kind of a little bit dimmer and more matte. But there is a pretty cool picture on the back. As you can see, as you turn this, it becomes one image. And you've got all these zombies on the back. So, pretty cool. I do like the back of that a lot. Let's take out the contents and talk about what we got. Things first, guys, we do get a poster. Let's actually have a good gander at this. Alright. So, you can have this artwork, which is featured on the box. And the poster is vibrant and looks good, too. Again, it's a comic book. You know, you guys get to decide if you like that or not. I think it's fine, you know, but there were better options out there, I think. And then the back features that classic image, about as good as it gets. They're back from the grave and ready to party. I fucking love this movie. It's a masterpiece, in my opinion. Anyway, so we get some other stuff in here. No, this is where the magic's at. We'll look at this last. Now, you can have that punk rock artwork on the release of the 4K itself, or you can reverse it and have this great artwork, which is obviously the original poster. It is pretty interesting seeing this with this arrow rainbow at the bottom. It's just, I didn't know that this was going to happen, but I'm glad it did. Alright guys, so when we open this up, we get a 4K disc, which obviously features the art of the original cover, which is in the player, and I had some features going because I enjoy watching the features. Now, the beauty is this disc. Look at this. We get a More Brains disc with pretty cool looking artwork on there, guys. I kind of like that even more than the American artwork, you know, which obviously looks at the back of the Blu-ray case. So, yeah, very, very cool. You get a card in here. Let's see what movie's on the back. Obviously, we get this. The other side is the Oily Maniac, which I believe I've had in some American releases. Alright, guys, so here's where the money's at with this release. This book right here. Now, in this book, there is The Revenge of the Living Dead, which is a comic book done by Gary Smart, and I believe Don Calfa had a hand in it. Now, I think that comic book is going to be coming back into print soon. It went out of print years ago, and it's very, very sought-after, collectible, and expensive. With that being said, I'll give you guys a gander through this book, which I love this original style artwork on here with this concept art of Tarman that was back from the day. First off, the original images in this from the behind the scenes is super cool. So we've got some making of stuff, some great pictures from the movie, but this is what's cool. After you get through reading about the film, which I intend to read this whole book considering this is my favorite film, we get into Revenge of the Living Dead. This is super cool. Don Calfa, Gary Smart, and Jason Miller. So yeah, Don Calfa was a part of this. Now, this gives us a number of pages of this comic book. Now, here's an image of the first page. Check this out, guys. I got to give you guys an example of this. Look at that. Let me get this to focus for you guys. All right, check it out. Look at that. Look at this shot from the comic book. Pretty wicked art on there. All right, let's look at a few more pages. All right, here's another example. Look at that. Really cool. I'm hoping that as soon as this thing comes back into print, I'm going to be able to get it because I need Revenge of the Living Dead. Obviously, this is a sampler. Oh, more characters from the movie that we'll recognize here. Wicked cool. Now, obviously, this is something that, if it didn't have this, I can't say I wouldn't have gotten this. I got this because I freaking love the movie. But, and look at this image. This was used on some of the foreign vinyl releases back in the day. Just so creepy. Look how haunting that is. Wicked cool. So this book is really cool. Does make it kind of more fun for me to get this. In terms of the features, it's going to have everything that the other releases basically had. All the ported over stuff from the old MGM DVDs. The More Brains documentary, obviously, as we saw, is on this release. Don't think that this one has the original 4x3 work print version, though. I think that might be missing on here. Which I think that work print version was on the Scream Factory release. All to say is this. There's not really a huge reason for anybody to need to get this if you already have the Scream Factory ones. That's the honest truth. But what is cool is the booklet. I love this booklet. I love the old school art on there. So that's Return of the Living Dead from Arrow, guys. The movie obviously looks fantastic. It's Dolby Vision and everything. But it looks exactly identical, as far as I'm concerned, to the Scream Factory ones. There may be some sort of a minute difference. I know that Arrow does, I believe, their own coding on their releases, regardless if it came from another company. I know that people say that Zombie from Arrow does have a slightly different image, ever so slightly, from the Blue Underground one. So there's a chance this may look a fraction different. But my money says it's nothing you could notice with the naked eye, or even with a microscope for that matter. All in all, it's cool that Arrow got this, and that a lot of people from different parts of the world now have the availability to get this easier in 4K. And if you're a really big fan, you know, keep your eye on it. These will drop in price down the road, and you'll feel better about getting it. Or maybe you're just a huge fan like me, and you don't give a rat's ass. You love Return of the Living Dead, and you gotta get this, guys. So that's it, guys. Return of the Living Dead from Arrow video. Pretty freaking cool. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.